This is video analysis number 1, and we're going to be discussing the Tendo Power Analyzer and the case study of Jason. So an introduction on Jason. Jason is categorized as athletic, but has little to no training when it comes to resistance and performance training. A strength of his is that he's able to move at high velocities on the court, which essentially means that he has a good speed and is fast. And this is more than likely what got him to playing Division I basketball. After watching Jason play, it has been brought to light that he has two main weaknesses, and those are his ability to produce force and power. So as a strength and conditioning coach, I would try and resolve these issues by implementing some velocity-based training into Jason's resistance and performance program. This can be done by using a Tendo Power Analyzer. So an introduction on the Tendo Power Analyzer. It is a velocity-based training tool that can be attached to a barbell or athlete when working out. It measures average power, average velocity, peak force, eccentric average velocity, and rest time between reps and sets. Essentially, the big question here is how can the Tendo Power Analyzer be used to improve Jason's ability to produce force and create power? We would first want to introduce Jason into resistance training. As stated previously, he's never participated in resistance or performance training, so we need to begin there. Once Jason has proper technique and can safely perform the lifts and exercises, I would then test Jason for his 1 rep max in squat, deadlift, and then also test him in his vertical jump. This 1 rep max and height for his vertical jump will be used as our baseline and allow us to calculate percentages of his rep max later on, which will be needed when using the Tendo Power Analyzer. So here's just 3 simple equations that you need to know. Velocity equals displacement over time, force equals mass times acceleration, and power equals force times velocity. Having the ability to calculate velocity, force, and power with the Tendo Power Analyzer is very beneficial because we can find areas of concern and see what specifically needs to be improved in order to improve Jason's power and force. For example, we know that Jason is struggling with producing force. Force is the production of mass and acceleration, so then we can take this information and have Jason lifting a certain mass and cue him to accelerate with that mass in a fast manner, which essentially would be training to increase his force. A big factor for increasing Jason's force and power is going to be choosing certain exercises and lifts that attribute to that. We know that plyometrics are specifically used to increase force and power, so that should definitely be implemented into his program. Since Jason has no prior experience with plyometrics, he would be classified as a beginner, which means that he should be performing 80 to 100 foot contacts in a session with a minimum of 1 session per week and a maximum of 3 sessions per week. Common errors that come with plyometrics are too much rest between reps, lack of balance, center of gravity not over the base of support, varus or valgus of the knees, and arm swing. Therefore, we would want to make sure to cue Jason to maintain an athletic position when landing. This means landing with body weight distributed evenly within his body, shoulders, knees, and toes all in line, and knees pointed straight forward, not inward or outward. We also want to make sure to cue Jason that in between his reps, he's not taking too much time. Since Jason is just beginning to use plyometrics, we want to make sure to progress his plyometrics throughout his training, and an example of this can be found in the image to the right. So you can start with jumps in place, which 2-foot ankle hops, double leg tuck jumps, cycle split squats. Then you can progress to standing jumps, double leg vertical jumps, jump over barriers, single leg vertical jumps, and then progress to multiple hops and jumps, double leg hops, single leg hops, double leg zigzag hops, then possibly to bounds. So skips, backward skips, double arm alternating leg bound, and then the last progression could be box drills. So single leg push-offs, jump to the box, side to side push-offs, and jump from box. Another factor that will contribute to power and force is lower body strength. Therefore, we want to make sure that Jason is participating in resistance training of the lower body. Frequency and volume will depend on what time of the season Jason's in, if he's in preseason, off-season, postseason. The main 4 lower body lifts that Jason should focus on are deadlifts, squats, RDLs, and then Olympic lifts. All these lifts will help strengthen Jason's lower body and can be done using the Tendo Power Analyzer, which will be beneficial later on. Another benefit of these lifts are that they can be done unilateral and bilateral, and this is very important within basketball because oftentimes we have unilateral explosive movements such as going up to the net for a layup on the right side of the body, and you need to be able to be explosive just on that one side. To go back to the TPA when using these lists, let's say that you're trying to increase power for Jason. We know that that means we have to increase force and velocity that Jason is producing. If we attach the Tendo Power Analyzer to the bar, throw 75% of his 1 rep max, and calculate the velocity number that we're getting, we know that we want to be between 0.75 and 0.05 millimeters per second. If we're not in that range, then we know that we have to make adjustments. Questions to think about. So I made a Google form. If you could just click on this and answer the 2 questions to the best of your ability. These 2 questions are, since Jason has no experience in resistance training, what criteria must be met for him to participate in plyometrics? And should we focus on developing Jason's upper body strength? If so, how would you do so?